Hey everyone, Chrissie is here for ThermOWeb. I'm going to show you how to make this card today. It's a super fun spring card. So I'm going to use some of these Floral Fantasy toner mixables. These are from Brutus, Monroe, and ThermOWeb. And then I'm going to use two different types of foil. So I do tend to wear like a lot of lotion and stuff on my hands. So one of the things that can affect the toner and foil adhering together is a lot of oils. So you saw I did a little bit of chalking on there. If you don't have oily hands and everything is perfectly clean, don't even worry about it. So all you do is you put the foil down on top of the toner card front, put it in your crafting carrier sheet, and then run it through the laminator, and you can see how easily that comes off. So this particular foil I used is called Enchanted Rose, and I love it because it's pink, but it's also super iridescent. So it made me think of spring, and I knew that I had to use it. So then I just have an old Gina K die that I'm using. It's an oval. I think it's perfect. I used some vellum to cut out. That's going to be my background. I didn't want to use just like colored stock or white stock because I felt like it was going to be a little too harsh and it would take away from that background that we just created using the toner mixable card front. So I wanted to stick with vellum. So the next I am going to watercolor in this little bunny. This is a Catherine Pooler stamp, and I did kind of show I'm talking slower than my video is going, but I use the less bumpy side when I stamp. And then I'm just putting some clear embossing powder over it to protect it because I am going to watercolor, but I'm going to watercolor with inks. Some inks are reactive to water, so I am going to watercolor with those using a water brush. So then I just went ahead and I die cut those little bunnies, and then before I started watercoloring, I wanted to get my other foiling and die cutting out of the way. So I am using my peel and stick toner sheets. These things are great because they're just solid toner sheets. And again, you can see I'm chalking it. That's just again because I have a lot of lotion on my hands, especially this time of year because it's a little dry where I live. And then you just place the foil down. Now this particular foil is lime. I thought it would be a nice contrast to the Enchanted Rose that I used earlier. So then when you peel it off, you have a full foiled sheet. So I'm just using these dies that say, oh, happy day, and holding that in place with my Pixie tape. And then I will just run it through my die cutter. And then I just wanted to really kind of quick show intricate dies and how you can kind of poke them out. I have this really cool tool. If you don't have that, you can use like a paper piercing tool. That's what I used to use. And there's usually holes in the dies that you can peel them out, or you can just use your fingernail if you have them. So now I am going to do my little watercoloring, and I'm going to speed this up. But I just basically, these I used watercolor markers. I'm sorry, I said I used ink earlier. I have some watercolor markers I use. But I have oftentimes used water reactive ink as well, doing the exact same technique. So I would just tap the ink pad down. I have a glass mat here, just like I scribbled the watercolor marker, and it's the exact same thing. So I use a water brush. If you don't have that, you can just use a paintbrush with water, and I always keep a paper towel off to the side just so it doesn't get too watery and I can kind of clean off in between colors. So then next, just decided to throw a little bit of ink on the back of this toner mixable just to kind of soften it a little bit, and I wanted to keep the pink and green color scheme going, so I used some of this lime colored ink on there, and then I just kind of flicked some water and some ink on there too, also using my water brush. So then it was time to start assembling the card. So I used some of my 3D foam squares, and then also what's really great about the memory runners from ThermOWeb is when you do have vellum, it really doesn't show up. They're clear. So that's one of the great things. Like I always had issues previously using vellum on cards because the way that I adhered them would always show up, even if I just used like a liquid glue. But with this, it's great because when you use the memory runner, it does not show up whatsoever. So I also used, like I said, some of my 3D foams, so the bigger ones and then the smaller ones. And this is the finished card once everything is assembled. So you can see it's nice and shiny. So thanks so much for stopping by today. I hope you have a great day.